friends, welcome back to Live at the Roxy. I need to start by saying one thing very clearly. This video title is absolutely clickbait, and I hope it found the people that I want it to find so that maybe, just maybe, we can make some people understand how dumb and ludicrous they sound when they are keyboard jamming in their basement. That's what this video is about. Actors should shut up and get a real job. I can't possibly tell you how many times on the internet this week somebody has said this to me. You should shut up and get a real job. So today is all about what it is that I do, what it is that actors do, and what it is that SAG is asking for, and what it is that SAG is asking its members to do and pre-members to do and people to do in support of the union or people who would like to join the union. I want to be clear about a few things. I want to be clear about everything, but uh today this episode really matters to me because I cannot possibly continue to respond to every person who tells me to shut up and get a real job and they don't deserve my time and energy in the response. I'm going to point them in the direction of this video. So streamlabs.com/Roxy Stryer, super chat in, show your support. It's going to be a very challenging couple months. That's my understanding. If you are on the picket lines or in the industry, if your ears to the ground, if you're listening to the people and reading the tea leaves, then you probably are under the same impression that I am, which is that this strike is very much so going to last for a long time. Seems like it might last through December, which means that a lot of your favorite people that you watch on your TV screens, people that you watch in movies, and I'm not even talking about the WGA strike right now, although very much so the people that write all of your favorite TV shows and movies as well are going to be out of work for a really long time. And many of the people who review that content are also going to be out of work for a really long time. So here we go on all fronts, starting with voila, me. Just to give a little bit of an understanding of when people say actors should shut up and get a real job, what my job is. Because in order to make a statement like that, the assumption would be that you do not believe that I have a real job. I have what you have deemed to be the opposite of a real job, which I guess would be a fake job or a real something else. I don't even know when people say get a real job, what in their mind a real job means. But maybe they don't know what actors do. So just to start from the top, I decided I wanted to be an actress when I was a little kid. You guys know I was in my first play. I was 4 years old and I was the Bowl of Mush in Goodnight Moon. And I came on stage with a big bowl in my hand and I said, and good night, bowl of mush. And from the next one, I was Little Red Riding Hood. I have taken thousands of hours of dance classes, vocal training, improv classes, acting classes, theater classes, acting on camera classes. When I was in 4th grade, I started my first theater. I joined my first theater troupe, the Freelance Players, and every week would go and we would all be in shows where we would learn dance, singing, improv, and acting. I took classes in middle school and high school, additional to being in this freelance troupe. And then when it came time for college, like many people who have career aspirations, I went to school for acting in film. I auditioned into USC. So, despite having dropped out of a year of my high school and never taking a chemistry class and only taking 1 year of math, I graduated high school and was able to audition into the acting program at USC. They actually put me in a special class for people who get into the school but don't necessarily have the grades or the scores to be there, but get in based on merit. So I took classes there for that, as well as taking acting classes and film classes. I was an acting major and a film minor. Technically, it's called a dramatic arts major and a cinematic arts minor. And there I did all of the student films. I also, in my first year, met my mentor, Kevin Undergaro, on an airplane. And I ended up through college working full time for Kevin as a host and as a producer for him while also being in acting school. So, most people, not most people, many people, when they think of a real job, right? They might think of something that you've had to train really hard for, or that you've had to uh, hone your craft in, or something that you are an expert in. I have spent well over now, probably double over 10,000 hours on camera, which is what they say it takes to be an expert in something. And I have learned all different angles of my craft, taking writing classes, directing classes, acting classes, like I said, improv classes, and learning stage building classes, lighting courses, so that I can be the best at my job that I possibly can be. Those are all things that make something not a hobby, but a career, right? And I am by no means saying that in order to have a career, you need to go to school for it. That is absolutely not what a real job is to me. But to those people who are out there saying a real job, they might think of an accountant as a real job, or a doctor as a real job, or a lawyer as a real job, or a professor as a real job. I also went to school. I also got my degree. I also studied. What made me have the job that I was able to have. I didn't do all of those things so that I could consider it a real job. I did it because in order to be great at what I do, I needed more classes. I needed more time, more hours. It didn't Nothing in life has ever come unbelievably naturally to me, as it does some people. But in the same way that an athlete can't just pick up a ball at 25 and all of a sudden be Michael Jordan, it's about repetition. And same thing with acting. I am curious if these people who don't believe acting is a real job, whether they think that athletes have a real job. But okay, so that's just a little bit of my background prior to even joining the workforce. Then let's talk about what it is to be an actress after all that training. And by the way, when I say after all that training, there really is no after the training, because I still am in acting classes. After school, I still went through groundlings, which is, for anybody who doesn't know, groundlings, UCB, Second City, those are all improv classes that you can take that are very reputable out here to get better once again at your craft. A lot of people from SNL come from those schools or have taken those classes. Pausing for a second to go into thank you so much for the support. Chris Lumchi says acting is a real job. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. SAG strong. Not for a second do I believe that it's not, but I do feel like some people don't get what we do. And so I want to use my platform to explain what an actor does. And this is, again, by no means me saying that I am more of a real actor than anybody who finds it later in life or hasn't taken all of those years of school. I was lucky enough that I knew what I wanted to do as a little girl and had the resources and skill set to apply myself throughout all of that time. Some people don't have that same luxury. And so I'm not saying I'm more of a real job than those people who find it later, but just to y'all real job people out there, maybe this helps you see it through a different lens. Let's see what's going on in the Streamlabs, streamlabs.com/Roxy Stryer. Thank you guys so much for the support in here. Like I've mentioned, it is going to be a challenging a little bit here. So I really appreciate this support. Jimmy Nails says, never give up, never surrender. This time last year, I was right where you are. Now I'm a successful business owner. Remember, the win could always be right around the corner. I so agree with that, Jimmy. I'm so glad to hear you call yourself a successful business owner. That's amazing. You're just the greatest. And one day your gelato will be in my mouth. Phrasing. It's fine. AJ Lancaster, thanks, AJ, says, I think when the SAG strike goes past the Emmys, that's when it gets real to consumers. Even if people don't pay attention to the Emmys, the fact they wouldn't happen is a headline. Wow, I hope that already this is a headline, but I know what you mean. A lot of people are talking right now about what is going to happen with the Emmys. I feel horrible for those people who have waited their entire life to be nominated and working the way that I've been working to get there, and this is what's happening. But uh yeah. Yeah. Okay. So now again, going back to the real job thing. So 90% of what it looks like to be an actor is auditions. And auditioning is no joke. Auditioning is unbelievably time consuming, challenging, and is a skill within itself. Since the pandemic, auditioning has gotten even increasingly more challenging because now what we do is self tapes. Now, this is a big point of contention with the unions and SAG as well. What SAG is asking for and what the unions are offering are on two separate pages right now about what we are allowed to be asked to do as actors for self tapes and auditions. So let me let me talk to you guys about what an audition might look like during this time period. Right now, there is no minimum turnaround time you have to get an audition in. So they could say to you, you need to get this to us tomorrow. There is no minimum amount of pages that they can send us. So they might give us 10 pages to learn. There is all of these requirements about how it needs to be shot, and so you might not get the job because you might not be able to afford the right equipment or a person to read with you. So what this might look like for some people, like myself, is that on a Monday, I might get an audition that is due on Tuesday morning, okay? And they might send me 10 pages, 10 pages of a script. Those are called sides, and it might have two people in it. And I might need to put that on tape, learn all of it, put it on tape, and send it back the next day. So here are the different things that go into that. First, you have to learn 10 pages of a script. A lot of the times, people who are considerate, casting directors that are considerate, producers that are considerate, will send you 3 or 4 pages. But I have gotten as many as 12, 13 before, and I will sit there and I will learn them. Now, for some people who have photographic memories, very few amount of people, this might go quickly. For somebody like me, who it takes a very long time to learn their lines, this process takes hours per page. It takes me a really long time to learn a script. So you learn it, and then you hope that you have enough actor friends or family members that you can call somebody and they can come over to wherever it is that you need to tape. And that for free, they're willing to help you out by recording you and reading the lines opposite you. We just talked about memorizing the lines. I haven't even talked about developing a character, right? So not only do you have to learn it, but then you have to feel it. You have to know it. You have to know what you want to do to be able to make an impact in this tape. So say a friend does come over and they do help you with it. Now they're asking for a slate. This is also part of what SAG is asking for. This might be a full body slate. So you might need to pan up and down. You cannot do this without somebody being physically in the room. You cannot pan for yourself. So this is why a lot of people can't do this through Zoom with a friend. And then you would edit that together with your actual audition. So if you don't have a friend who can come over last minute or even in advance, if you have a few days to tape one of these, you might have to pay somebody to do this. You might have to pay a studio to let you come in and to tape. Now, the rules about what you need to tape with, you need to have a blank background. Now, typically people use legitimate backdrops. So a blue backdrop or a gray black backdrop. It needs to be ironed completely flat. There cannot be wrinkles. You cannot have bad lighting. You aren't supposed to have ring light things in your eyes. So you're supposed to buy soft boxes in order to light you. You are supposed to have good audio and visual. So you're supposed to own a camera and a microphone and a tripod in order to do all of these things. So that is hundreds to thousands of dollars worth of equipment that you're already supposed to own. Now you also might need to pay somebody to come in or pay to go somewhere because you might not have a friend or an actor friend who is willing to do this with you during this time period. And then once you do tape it and you finally get the take that you like and you edit together and you send it off, you get $0 for that process. That is all the interview, the first round interview, right? If we're talking real job standards, that is the first thing you are doing. So now you've spent hours and hours for $0 prepping to get a job that you very, very likely will not get because there are thousands of people auditioning for that one role. If you are lucky and you did well and they see you in that role, you might get a callback. And since we are in the world of self tapes, that callback might not be in person. That callback also might be on camera at home. That usually would be a Zoom then with a casting director as they record you. So you need to set everything up so that you can do it via Zoom. Like this background would be unacceptable. I could not take it from here. I would need to have a blank background and I have a setup that I use and all of that. If you make it through that process or for that process, typically they send you new sides. So it's not the same sides that you already memorized, already learned, already feel. A lot of the time, they'll have you learn more pages of the script, 3 more pages, 4 more pages, 5 more pages, 6 more pages that they will send you to learn to see if you are able to do other scenes. So you will relearn that and then you will have that. And then that process can happen many times. You might then get another callback. You might then have a chemistry read, which means that they bring in other actors and they're playing with you. Oftentimes, the chemistry reads now are in person, although during the pandemic, I did several chemistry reads through the internet, which is very hard to have chemistry, especially when people have bad Wi Fi. That is all an unpaid process. And oftentimes you are paying for it because number one, you're paying for the equipment. Number two, you're paying to have a reader. Number three, if it's an audition that you really, really want and really care about, you might get a coach and you might get somebody to coach you for the audition. I have an acting coach. Sean Whalen has been my acting coach before. And you hire them to go to train you on that audition, to coach you through that audition. So oftentimes these auditions are costing people money. And that's all before you even get the job. So these are all issues that people don't think about. When you think about actors, shut the fuck up and get a real job. This is all part of even our interview process before you even book something. Now, obviously, you guys are more aware because of what's been happening current day of everybody talking about this, of the issues once you have the job, right? A big issue, AI being a big issue, the unions wanting to only pay background workers for 1 day of work to have their likeness for all of time. That's a huge issue, right? The same kind of things that other unions have issues with, like what happens if you miss your lunch or when are you penalized for running overtime, things like that. These are all issues that happen in other jobs as well. So you would think that people of the working class would be able to relate to actors wanting livable work conditions. Now, let's talk about residuals for a second, because this seems to be very confusing to a lot of people as well. Why are actors fighting for residuals? You already did the job. Why are you fighting for more money? Number one, acting is not, it is a real job, but it's not a regular job. It is not a 9 to 5 where work is guaranteed. It is not a situation in which you might be able to book throughout the entire year. You might be limited by contracts on what you are and what you are not allowed to do. On top of that, do you think that all singers, for example, should make the same amount of money, regardless of if they get a number one hit or if nobody ever listens to their song? No, of course not. If a movie plays their song, they should make more money from that movie. If they go on tour and sell out arenas, they should make more money from doing that. If their song gets millions of streams, they should make more money from that. It's the same with actors in terms of residuals. If your show plays in more than one location, if it goes from ABC to Hulu, then you should make more money. If it gets streamed more, then you should make more money because you are part of the artist that created this product. And you cannot possibly predict how a product is going to do, how art is going to do before it's out there. So residuals are wildly important, and the residual structure right now is non-existent. It sucks. If you are part of something that is lucky enough to be a hit because it's so difficult, you should reap the benefits for that. And right now they don't. And when people say, "Well, I don't understand because this is the job I work and I don't get paid for it years later," you're not an artist. That'd be like saying you should only get paid while you're painting the painting. But if the painting sells for so much money, you shouldn't get any of that because you should only get paid while it's getting painted. What? That makes no sense. That makes no sense. That it truly makes no sense. So again, people don't understand what actors do. And that is why I think they are so confused. Let's see. Okay, going into the Streamlabs, streamlabs.com/Roxy Stryer. Please send that support. I really appreciate you, and we will continue on this show. Alan Smithy says, "Hey, Roxy, I'm not in a guild, but I've acted in plays and short films before. It's a real skill set, and there's a ton of nuance. I'm sure you're a true pro, and all your YouTube activities help show off your skills. Don't listen to the haters. Fight on. Fight on. Thank you, babe. Appreciate that." Fake Lloyd said, "Happy Sunday, Roxy. Team Stryer." Lloyd, you're the best. Thank you. Real Lloyd, fake Lloyd, and everywhere in between, Lloyd. You're always the best. So much love to you. Okay. We have another question in the super chat that I will get to in a little bit, but keep sending in your Streamlabs. Keep sending in your support. If you have questions on anything I'm saying, please ask so that I can hopefully help educate you guys so that you understand. Okay. This is a question that I got on my Instagram a few times this week. People, or a comment, I suppose, people saying, I guess it's a question and a comment. Why do you feel like you are owed the right to be an actress, the right to work? My response is anyone owed any job? I don't understand how being an actress is different than being a carpenter or being a dentist. No one in the world is owed any job, right? What do you mean? Why do you feel you're owed that job? I don't feel I'm owed the job. I feel like I work my ass off. And when I book gigs, I'd like to be paid fairly for them. Just like anybody with any job. When you get the job, you would like to be compensated fairly. So I'm not owed being an actress. It's the career path I've chosen. And when I'm working, I'm owed working and livable wages. Right now, just to go over some of the numbers that I'm sure you guys have been hearing over and over again on social media, 87% of SAG members, of members in the Screen Actors Guild, SAG-AFTRA, do not hit their minimum to get health insurance through the union. That means that only 13% of people in the union get health insurance through the union. In order to get health insurance through SAG, you need to make $26,000 for a year. I don't know about you guys and where you live, but you cannot live off of $26,000 in Los Angeles in a year. It is well below the poverty line. So the amount of actors that are living well below the poverty line from just acting jobs is 87%. Now, that's why you see so many waitresses and actresses that are Uber drivers and all these other things, because none of us, so little of us, are making enough money to actually live. So, do you think that that actor who also is an Uber driver, when they're Uber driver, that's a real job, but when they're an actor, they're not? No, they have many jobs, and one of them is being an actor. I have many jobs. You guys have seen me have many jobs over the years. I'm a host, I'm an actress, I'm a writer, I'm a producer. All of my jobs at this age are all in the industry, which I feel so proud of. I worked my fucking tail off in order to do this, in order to be on YouTube, to be on social media, to be on Rotten Tomatoes and Nerdist and AfterBuzz and Collider and Screen Junkies and um, DC Movie News and The Big Thing and Real Rejects and everywhere that I have worked over the years. Those are all things that I have worked at every movie from Always Lola to Madness and the Method to Crust to every student film to the commercials that I've shot. Those are all jobs I've worked my ass to get. I have never been just handed anything. And I'm so grateful for all of them. Again, real jobs. But okay, so that's how few actors make a living from being an actor. And then you're seeing actors on these major shows right now, like Orange is the New Black, come out and say that they were not even able to afford an apartment while they were on the show because the cost of living here is so high. The cost of living in New York is so high, and Los Angeles is so high, and the wages are so low. And oftentimes you can't afford to just be an actor because of and then this is part of the fight. And then on top of that, you're paying for your own health insurance, which I don't know about you guys, but costs me about $5,000 a year because I have to pay for it out of pocket because I make no minimums. So again, these are all things that I think are helpful to know. Um, there's also a ton of different stats about right now how it's like less than 1% of of what WGA is asking for from the studios would cost them less than 1% of what their yearly income is, their annual income, and how disgusting it is. And so, another comment that I continue to get is, but there's no money in TV and movies anymore. So, why would the actors be paid? There's no money in it anymore. We cannot lose sight of the fact that executives are making hundreds of millions of dollars. They're making hundreds of millions of dollars. And I cannot be clear enough on that because there is money in TV and movies. There is tons of money. There's money enough so that people own multiple homes, yachts, everything that they could have ever wanted. Let's go over some of those numbers for a second. Ari Emanuel, Endeavor, let's see. In 2021, took home $308 million. So this is just, I'm going to give you guys what some people make a year. David Zaslav, $246 million. Andy Jassy from Amazon, $212 million. Bob Iger, $45.9 million. Tom Rutledge, Charter, $41.9 million. Reed Hastings, Netflix, $40.8 million. Ted Sarandos, also Netflix, $38.2 million. Brian Roberts from Comcast, $34 million. Bob Chapek, Disney, $32.5 million. John Stankey, AT&T, $24.8 million. Jeff Shell, NBC Universal, $21.6 million. Bob Backish from Paramount, $20 million in 1 year. Those are numbers that they are taking home in 1 year. In 1 year. Zaslav in the last 5 years has taken home $500 million. So when we say things like, there's no money in this anymore, there is plenty of money. There is plenty of money for the working class. They're lying to you guys. They're lying to me. They're lying to all of us. They're trying to fool people. They won't release their numbers. They won't release their streaming numbers. They don't want us to know how watched they are, how long they're being watched for. They want to keep the money and buy another yacht. That's what they would like to do. And they're fooling so many people because people don't do the research and are allowing themselves to be ignorant. But you cannot bury your head in the sand, and especially not if you are a consumer of TV and movies. Right now, SAG and WGA have not said don't go see movies or cancel your streamers. Right now, they have not said that. So people are still streaming, as I am included. But if you are doing that, if you are enjoying the content you are seeing, if this weekend you went to go see Barbie and Oppenheimer, if you went to enjoy Mission Impossible, if right now you just binged The Bear, if you are loving the things you're watching, realize that those people are not being treated fairly, not just the people you're seeing, but all of the people around the production. They're not being treated fairly. You're watching labor that is going so grossly underpaid. And it's not just about payment. There's so many more things. But at the end of the day, this does come down to being able to live from the career that you are giving 40 plus hours a week to, right? Which is what all workers should be able to do. Let's talk about a few more things. And again, thank you guys for your support. Streamlabs.com/Roxy Stryer, super chat in questions, comments, concerns on everything we're talking about. Ash in the Streamlabs says, why are SAG and WGA not asking people to boycott streaming services? That's what we were just talking about. And movies in theaters. As far as I can tell, the only way to make the execs give a fuck is to punch them in the wallet. If they keep making money during the strike, why would they care? Ash, my theory on this is this. I think it's a couple things. Number one, I think that is one of the last cards that they will be able to play, right? If it gets to that point and they ask for that and consumers do not do those things, I think that that's not a good look. So I think that's one of the last cards that's going to be, if they cannot come to an agreement, I do believe they probably will play that card at some point. But that's like the big, to take it from Oppenheimer, that's like the A bomb, right? That's the big one. And I think if they played it right now, it might not help or work as much because the at least SAG strike is relatively new. And I think they really want to try to get down, use all other tactics first. Also, I don't think they want to be hated by the people. People don't want to be asked to do that. So I think they're trying to get at least closer in negotiations if they're going to ask people to do that. And then I don't know that I also think they're probably afraid to ask people to do that because they're scared that people won't listen. But they are asking a lot of people to do a lot of things, and we will get to that momentarily as well. AJ Lancaster says, imagine asking UPS drivers if they deserve their jobs. Workers on strike deserve rights. It's not about deserving a job. It's about deserving a right to live from your job. Solidarity. Absolutely. Unions should stick with unions. You either believe in unions or you don't. And if you don't, that's fucking asinine. But it's crazy that some people are in support of the hospitality strike or the are in support of the UPS drivers, but they're not in support of SAG or WGA because they deem it to be glamorous. When I just described to you guys what a month in my life might look like, and it's far from fucking glamorous. It's work. It's challenging. And we have seen also a lot of people put their entire, I haven't even mentioned that a lot of actors don't get to have a work-life balance. I just watched an interview with Elizabeth Olsen where she talks about working for Marvel for 2 years straight and not having a break longer than 2 days. I mean, they're actors and WGA and writers, they're human beings too. And they are bleeding themselves dry a lot of the times to entertain people, to give them a break from their lives, to make people laugh or cry or feel something. And because of that, many of them, as you guys have seen through time, through history, many of them, including myself, don't have successful relationships. A lot of them give up having, please don't let this be me, but holy shit, having marriage, children, stability, because they travel all the time for work too. And I'm not saying woe is them, because the bigger the star, the more opportunity you get. I'm not saying that, but that is something that I don't think people realize too, is that a lot of actors, they're hustling, they're working, they're not sitting at home, glamorous life. They're busting their ass. Okay. Streamlabs.com/Roxy Stryer, super chat in. Let's see. This question coming in, I would like to use as a catalyst to talk about this next thing. The Cali Kid says, as a viewer consumer, what is your take on Barbie? So let me talk to you guys about what I am and what I'm not allowed to talk about right now. And this is something that, again, I wish people who are not um, people authorized by the union to speak on this would stop spreading false information online. It is okay in life, always, if you don't know the answer to a question, to say, I don't know. It is not okay to make up an answer that is false and spread it as fact. It is okay to say, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. But people have been coming at me left and right with, you're not allowed to do this. You are allowed to do this. And now let me get into specifics and explain. And then let me tell you guys what I'm doing to ensure that I am doing what I need to do in order to be in good standing with SAG. Okay. So, Comic-Con. I just got back from Comic-Con yesterday, or Friday night. I drove back. And everybody on the planet, in the union or otherwise, was allowed to attend Comic-Con. Anybody, Meryl Streep could have attended Comic-Con, Johnny Depp could have attended Comic-Con, but you could not attend Comic-Con and promote struck work. That is films of the past that would have been struck now because they're part of Struck Studios, or films of the present. That's not allowed. You can attend as an attendee, and there are certain things that people were allowed to promote, such as SAG-approved podcasts. People got approval to promote certain things during this time. I attended Comic-Con. Here's what I did at Comic-Con. I walked around and did man on the street interviews with the World Girls and talked to people about the strike. If they knew how much money Zaslav was making a year, what they thought about the strike. We will be releasing that episode next month, and I'm really looking forward to it. We also socialized with our industry friends, networked with our industry friends, not studios, places like IGN. We didn't dress in cosplay because SAG has said that they don't want they don't want union members in cosplay or and whatnot. I get it. We didn't do anything affiliated with any of the studios. We didn't take payment from any of the studios. I didn't. Those are things I did not do. So I went under the press as the World Girls, talked to people on the street about the strike, drank some drinks at bars, had some food, went to some parties, and that's what I did. Okay. People on my Instagram and my Twitter and my threads and in my DMs, I'm going to tell on you to SAG. You're not allowed to be at Comic-Con. The rules are nobody is allowed to be at Comic-Con. It's clear you're at Comic-Con, which I obviously wasn't hiding as I made a post from Comic-Con. And I want to remind everybody that most of the people, unless you are very clearly crossing the picket line, which is fucked up, as in like you are an actress who is non-union and you're taking union work during this time because union people can't take that work and you are clearly a scab. Unless you're doing that, everybody else, just chill for a second. Stop coming for people that are clearly not the problem. That's what they want us to do. These studio heads want us to turn on each other so we do not turn on them. David Zaslav and Bob Iger right now are hoping to put up enough smoke and mirrors. It's disgusting what they're doing. It's disgusting. Look at each other. It's disgusting. So that we turn on one another and we don't take their yachts because they have several. That's what's happening. So everybody just kind of relaxing on that for a second. Same thing with when we put up the Barbie video for the World Girls. A month ago, Dorina, Steph, and I in Santa Monica went to the Barbie house, or the Barbie pop-up. Barbie as in the doll. In the Barbie pop-up was all about the creation of Barbie, the evolution of Barbie, the newest kinds of Barbies, the inventor, Ruth of Barbie, Barbie Dreamhouse evolution, fun little hair and makeup station, And then immediately we put out the video and I get messages and people writing on it being like, doesn't this put Roxy in bad standing with SAG? And it's like, again, everybody breathe. It had literally, we opened with a message about the strike. The video had nothing to do with the movie. It was about a toy. And people were on my dick about it. Sometimes people are just concerned, and I appreciate people being concerned, but a lot of times people are sitting there like, gotcha. Okay, everybody relax. What is unclear to me at this moment in time is if, because going back to this question, as a viewer and consumer, what is your take on Barbie? I am not just a viewer and consumer. I am a person who is going to have to join the union very soon. As you guys know, I'm not out here claiming something that I'm not. I'm a pre-SAG member. I've filmed 3 SAG movies, which means that I have movies that have counted towards having to be a must-join SAG member. So I have already booked 2 more SAG movies. Who knows what happens with this strike, but by the end of that, I will be a must-join member where I'll have to join the union. I don't say have to, like you have to. That's what it's called, a must-join. So I am probably about a year away from being a must-join. If I wanted to join now, that could be something, but it's, I think, $3,500 to join, right? Which times are tough right now, my dudes. So, that all of that to say, they are asking pre-SAG members, myself, and SAG members to do similar things. And if you do not, as a pre-SAG member, abide by these rules, they are saying that you will not be able to ever join SAG. And that would prevent me from working, which is why I need to follow the SAG guidelines. Now, that is why I need to follow the SAG guidelines. Why I want to follow the SAG guidelines is because I believe in the fight that SAG is fighting. That's my fight. This is what I do for a living. And the 3 SAG movies that I have worked on all are SAG movies. So my life is completely affected by SAG as I work on SAG projects. I believe in this fight. It is the right fight to fight. And this fight affects me every day in my auditioning, in my bookings, and in my future. So in my today and in my future, this is the fight that I have to be fighting. And okay, so that is that. Now, a Variety article went out last week that was a little confusing, talking about what influencers are allowed to do versus what critics are allowed to do. This is a thin line because I am neither, and yet I'm a little bit of both. I've never considered myself an influencer or a critic. I do go to all the critic screenings. And I do suppose I have influence online and have posted things before as an influencer, right? So it was hard to know what I am and what I'm not allowed to do. So I wrote SAG an email. And for anybody, this is what is being recommended for people to do, to email them and to ask. So to SAG-AFTRA, strike@sagaftra.org, I wrote an email. The response that I got was that, thank you for contacting SAG-AFTRA strike email address. We will endeavor to respond to your email as soon as possible. However, our response may be delayed due to the volume of emails presently being received. And then they gave a frequently asked question list. Okay. So I'm waiting on that response. In that letter, I specifically wrote, am I allowed to do this, and this? You know, all of the networks that I work as a part of. Hopefully they respond to me and I'll get a very clear answer. And then that will be the way that I move forward. And I'll let you guys know what that is when I receive that answer. Until then, I'm doing the best I can to navigate the information that they have put out online. What they put out is all over the internet. Different people are saying different things, and you can really only look at what SAG-AFTRA is saying because they're going to be the ones that make the decision about SAG-AFTRA. So a person, this account called Audrey Helps Actors Podcast put out an email that somebody had written to SAG, and SAG's response was this: any non-member seeking future membership in SAG-AFTRA who performs covered work or services for a struck company during the strike will not be admitted into membership in SAG-AFTRA. That's very clear. You cannot perform work for any of these companies right now. You cannot get paid to post about movies. You cannot perform work for any of the studios. With that in mind, non-union influencers posting content about struck work should refrain from posting on social media if those posts are even if those posts are unpaid and the influencer is posting from the viewpoint of a fan. So that's what made me talk about this Cali kid, as you said, as a viewer and consumer. They're saying even if you're posting from the viewpoint of a fan, you should refrain from doing that. Even when done for fun, posting about struck work, such as reactions to new episodes from struck series or even old shows and films, which I did not think that they were doing, if produced today, would be struck, can be viewed as promotional. For these reasons, we ask that you help us in relaying the seriousness of this matter by refraining from posting about any project by struck companies during the strike. That is what they said. I am not sure in how this pertains to some of my jobs. We saw this week that there are 2 different A24 projects that SAG has allowed to continue to film because they have A24 has agreed to all of SAG's requests, and they have said, "Yep, we can do all of that." So those are allowed to continue. So I would have to assume that covering A24 stuff would be okay. But I don't know that is my assumption at this time. Or anything that is non-scripted would be okay to talk about. So Bachelorette and Too Hot to Handle, those would be the things I would think are okay. Soap operas are also included in things that you can talk about right now. Other than that, I need to wait and see what they say, and hopefully I'll get the clearest response possible. And so for that reason, that is why I have not put out reviews on any movies or filmed any of them since the strike was authorized. I believe in this cause. It is pinching me and everybody, so many people that I know and love. It's gonna be a very challenging time, and I hope that I figure out what I can do for a living during this time, including things like this, giving updates on the strike and talking about other things as well. And hopefully there are certain things that I can review and I can get clarity on that very soon. But as of now, everybody online saying to me things along the lines of, but Chris Carr's in SAG and she's reviewing movies for this thing, or Christian Arloff's in SAG and he's whatever it is. People just keep DMing me things, posting things. Everyone is doing the best they can to navigate the information that they're given during this time. I am not holding anything against anybody that isn't clearly crossing the picket lines during this time. They are all doing what it is that they think is right during this moment based on the information that we are being given. And I completely understand. Those are just 2 random names that you guys keep posting to me about. I am also doing that during this time. I'm reading and I'm interpreting as best as I can. So that's what I'm doing. Today my therapist said to me, she was like, I'm watching all these Oppenheimer people talk all about Oppenheimer and they're doing so much for the movie. And I was like, those are all pre-recorded from the strike. They're not doing press on the movie that's just airing now, but they're not doing press for the movie now. And movies coming out in the future that didn't do that, those actors, they are not going to be doing press for it, or it will put them at risk with the union. So, and they also want to fight this fight. We need to fight this fight. Shane Canavan says, Streamlabs always crashes when I try to use it. So here's a super chat. Thank you. Don't get to catch live, but followed since Collider. Your honest and positive voice is appreciated, especially in these times. Thank you so much. At the end of all this, I do want to give you guys a little bit about my Comic-Con experience, about some of the really cool things, just to end on a good note. But anyway, I felt like tonight, I just felt compelled to make this after all of the comments I continue to get. Actors should shut up and get a real job. Streamlabs.com/Roxy Stryer. Super chat in. I understand Streamlabs does crash for some people. In general, all creators, I've talked to you guys about this, prefer Streamlabs because YouTube tends to take about 50% of your money as opposed to Streamlabs, which does not. So if you can, Streamlabs, much appreciated. Okay, going back to just the point of that being that if you are not SAG, I'm not even just saying a member of SAG. If you are not a representative of SAG who is authorized to give answers during this time to people about what they are allowed to do not be a keyboard warrior. Do not spread misinformation. Share facts. If there's a SAG email that has been sent, feel free to share that with people. If you share the link to SAG's websites with their frequently asked questions and answers, feel free to share that with people. Do not make up things you don't know. And also, do not go off of what everybody is doing is what SAG has approved. Different people are going to do different things. Some people are in the union, some people are not in the union. Some people are depending on being in the union in the future, some people are not. So you cannot look at what one person is doing and take that as, oh, so that must be right. That's not the way it works. Everybody's going to do what they can during this time to do the best that they can. Also, and this again does not give anybody the right to cross the picket line. However, people are in different circumstances. And I'm going to do the best I can to not judge people during this time because people need to keep a roof over their heads. People have children, people have families, people have health conditions. There's a lot of stuff going on here. Be kind to one another, unless you're talking to Sarandos or Zasloff or Iger, and then you don't need to be so kind. I mean, always be kind, but also, Jesus Christ, can they just sell one of their yachts and pay people a living wage? Just one yacht. Could it be? Ty in the chat says the internet is known for spreading facts. That is true, sir. The internet knows all. People who have no idea what they're talking about know everything. This we know. I will be picketing again tomorrow. I am going to be picketing as much as I can because again, this is my fight to fight. And hopefully, even if you are not SAG, even if you are not pre-SAG, even if you're not WGA, even if you don't want to join WGA one day, you're wanted on the picket lines. The way that it works, and I didn't know before going, is you walk up to the location. So they picket outside of all the major studios, and you walk up and there's a little table. And if you are SAG, you sign in with your SAG number. If you're pre-SAG, you can sign in with your pre-SAG number, or you just take a picture of a QR code and you just type your email and your name in and you grab a sign. They're already there. They'll give you a shirt if you want one. And then you walk back and forth. And sometimes people bring you the waters, popsicles, and you talk to people and you glare at the people who are driving through and crossing the picket lines. Now, you don't glare at them, but you do see them in their very, very nice cars often. And that's what it is. Nathan says the title caught my attention. That was the point. This was clickbait. This was clickbait for those people who thinks actors should shut up and get a real job because they're the ones who need to watch this video. If you clicked on this video feeling pissed, like, what does she mean? You guys are the ones I'm preaching to the choir. If you clicked on this hoping that somebody would be like, wah, 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 actors suck, then gotcha, motherfuckers. And hopefully you listen to me and change your mind and are no longer motherfuckers. And that. Okay, we are getting out of here pretty soon. I will talk a little bit about Comic-Con, streamlabs.com/Roxy Stryer. Anything else, questions, comments, concerns? We went a little bit over my background, actors, auditioning, self-tapes, all of that. Nobody being owed any job. So how bizarre that is. What makes a real job? Talking about singers and painters and residuals in general, talking a little bit about the AI issue, and about not pretending to know shit that you do not know, picketing, and how much you are wanted on the picket lines if you live in New York. If you live in Los Angeles, I believe in Atlanta, Chicago, I think that there are also places that you can go. If you look at SAG-AFTRA's Instagram, you can go there and they post a lot of information on this. Also, if you look at things are tagged in, you can find a lot of information there as well. I have been seeing some major stars on the picket lines, which is really cool to see. David Duchovny, Joey King. Again, it's not why I go to the picket lines, but it is nice to see some people who are totally okay during this time financially, I'm sure, still fighting the good fucking fight as they should be. Yes. Okay. Once again, streamlabs.com/RoxyStryer, super chat, all that good stuff before we get out of here so I can answer any other questions. I'll be back this week. I'll be doing a ton of content covering the strike still and other things as well. Comic-Con. Just as a brief thank you to you guys. Nothing is cooler than going to Comic-Con and walking around and having the rock stars and world friends and people who have watched me for the last over decade come up to me and say hi. It was like bringing tears to my eyes. Every year, more and more people come to me, and that makes me feel like my message is getting out there. I'm getting out there, and you guys have been a lot of you. I met this guy Kevin, and he told me he's been following me since the AfterBuzz days. It makes me feel amazing that you guys, you like me, you really fucking like me sometimes, and you follow the things that I do, and you're passionate about the things I'm passionate about. And there's nothing cooler to me than that. Don't ever be afraid to come say hi to me. It's going to make my day infinitely more than it makes your day. And to everybody who was there, who asked me for pictures or to say hi, or we had a conversation, some people we invited on the show. Um, it was just so fucking cool. And I just I I just cannot ever imagine there ever being a day where you coming to say hi to me means more to you than it does to me. Because it's the coolest feeling in the world. It's the fucking coolest feeling in the world. I can't even lie. As I don't care if that sounds conceited or self-centered or what. When you guys want to say hi to me, it makes me feel like a million fucking dollars. And trust me, despite what Google says I don't have $1 million. I don't know how they figure out what people's fucking net worth is, because I saw a Google thing say that I'm worth $5 million, and I am very unsure on where my rent is coming from this month. So if I have $5 million, I really hope it goes towards my rent. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you for coming to say hi to me. Thank you guys for joining the show. I know it was a late night show. I was feeling very inspired to talk about how actors should shut up and get a real job. Bitch, I have a real job. It's being the leader of the rock stars. So much love to all of you. If you're watching this after the fact and you have questions, if you leave it on the in the comments, I will answer it in my next video, or streamlabs.com/RoxyStryer, and I will do the best I can. Thank you so much to Ash and AJ and Lloyd and Alan and Jimmy for your financial support during this time in the Streamlabs, and to the super chatters, to Shane, and scrolling up to Cali Kid, and I know there was, and Chris. Thank you guys. Thank you times a million. You guys are going to be the way that I get through this time, physically and physically and fiscally. Ooh, that's a good one, Rox. I'll be back here soon, maybe tomorrow. Ryan Saldana in the Streamlabs says, I wish there was a WAG/SAG. Maybe you mean WGA, but I like WAG too. A WAG/SAG wristband that I could have bought with proceeds going to the fund and worn a SDCC to show support. Sorry, I missed y'all at Comic-Con. Felt a bit more crowded with the studio panels missing. Flash after show for me. Yeah, maybe somebody can make those and sell them. That would be pretty cool. That'd be pretty cool. Having all the proceeds go towards things like that. That's smart. I like your mindset. All right, my loves. Stay safe, stay sane. Put down the toilet seat and the lid. We don't want those buffoons. Don't tremble at the Holocaust. Justice for all the people who lost their lives due to excessive force. My body, my choice. Wherever you're on the rainbow, we love you. We stand with the women of Iran, some of the bravest women we've ever seen. Golden sparkles for the Zen one himself. Glenn, we're thinking about you every day. We love you. We hope you're recovering. And we stand with the union workers. And specifically right now, SAG. Damn, you have my whole heart. Okay. Okay, that's a lot of uhs that I just did. I must be getting tired. I think I'm gonna go bake cookies. Either that or I'll go get a real job, whichever one comes first. Later.